Morgan Thomas Show. Brought to you by Black's Tire Inc.
Welcome back in. I just want to go ahead and say apologies to Sony Music Entertainment for playing the Star Spangled Banner. Next time, I'll sing it myself. Let's just put it that way. All right? And I'll do better than Whitney Houston. But anyways, so thank you again for joining in. Take number 2. Clemson travels to South Bend to face Notre Dame, which is what we'll be talking about. If you were over on YouTube, thank you again for joining back in. Make sure you share it with your friends and like it so we can get it back up. We deleted the one from Facebook because it was blocked in 249 countries for playing the Star Spangled Banner. You know what? The nation's anthem should be copyright free. I mean, you know what?
I disagree.
Should be copyright free, but it's not. So if you want to listen to that national anthem that we played, or the Star Spangled Banner, you can go on YouTube and watch it yourself. But you can't get it on this show. But let's get back into what we were talking about. Al, I wanted you to start out with the players of the week in Houston with your, worst games of the week. But we're going to skip. We're going to skip it, if you don't mind, since we had a little bit of hiccup here. Let's just get right into Boston College versus Clemson and check on it. All right, so Boston College, as you know, Clemson, it was a little bit of a stressful game, one that we all believed that Clemson would win, but not one that we thought Boston College would get out to an 18-point lead. 28 points going into halftime to Clemson's 13. So 28-13 heading into the half. And to me, I felt like that there were some fluke things. You know, the touchdown that was like juggled in the air. I mentioned this on Twitter and everybody said, well, give him credit for the nice catch. No, I'm not. I'm not giving him credit for that nice catch. Mario Goodrich was all over the guy, okay? The ball, he completely missed the ball with his first catch. His hands he grabbed his own hands together. It like bounced off his hip, off his knee, off his shoe, and then back into his hand. I don't know. To me, fluke there. Now, I did have some concerns with the defense not going into the game, but I mean, I was very surprised. Leading up to this game, you're talking about DJ Uiagalelei. You're talking about him replacing Trevor Lawrence and the best player in college football. You weren't talking about the fact that the defense was going to struggle. You weren't talking about the fact that the defense was going to give up 28 points before half. That was a huge head scratcher for me. So when I look back at that game, I will say it was a head scratcher, but at halftime I told Audrey, I said, this team, if any defense can change and adjust at halftime, it's a Brent Venables-led defense. And so I really never felt concerned about the defense. I was still more concerned about what Tony Elliott was going to put together with DJ to try to get that 18 points back. And by the way, according to Pro Football Focus, DJ had, at least scored as good or not better than 3 games that Trevor Lawrence has been in. So DJ, hats off to you for holding your own as a first-time start in a big-time situation. Not only that, but being down 18. So my thing is, I never panicked. There were some people at halftime, oh no, Booger McFarland, Nuke Hopkins called him out, said they were on upset alert. Nuke Hopkins said you need to be quiet because you're about to go to the Hot Pocket Bowl. Your LSU Tigers are going to the Hot Pocket Bowl. So I felt the same way. Alan, we'll start with you. Well, actually, let's start with Houston. Houston, what were your thoughts? Did you ever feel a little bit of nervousness there? Was it really my last time feeling nervous about this Clemson team was in the playoffs?
Yes and no. I'd be lying if I didn't state some things, an overreaction after the fumble. Because I know there's a few of my friends out there that will tell me otherwise if I say that I wasn't nervous. But after the fumble, Clemson goes down, scores, kicks a field goal. I was a little frustrated with that decision. I thought after fumbling away that touchdown, I thought it was crucial to get something back on the board, but it ended up not being as big a deal. And then the other part that I started to kind of ease into the thinking that Clemson would come back is 2-minute drill to get at least a field goal, knocking down a 50-yard field goal. I thought that was crucial. And then in the second half, Clemson dominated. I'm actually not as down about this game as I was about Syracuse. I thought Syracuse was a lackluster effort, and a lackluster game plan. I thought this game plan from the offense was actually fairly creative in the way that they got the ball to Travis Etienne to get DJ Uiagalelei comfortable. I thought the defense, as bad as the first half was, and as bad the breaks that they got, came out in the second half, really adjusted, did well, and pretty much shut that team down. And look, credit to Boston College. Phil Dracovic is a better quarterback than Ian Book, and I don't know what Brian Kelly is thinking when he went with Ian Book over Phil Dracovic. That kid's good, NFL arm talent, and he had 2 really good wide receivers. So credit to Boston College, but credit to Clemson for coming out and fighting them off in the end.
I will give you this too, Houston. You got a lot of flack for giving Clemson really low grades last week. So you're telling me, looking back, considering the defense, at least in the first half, was doing worse than against Syracuse. So you're telling me it was really not so much about on the score or stat line. It was really more about the effort that you saw on the field. Am I correct?
Yeah, that and then the situations that Clemson got themselves into. There were plenty of bust and moments where the defense got gashed up a little bit against Syracuse. Whereas in this one, the second half, Clemson came out and pretty much dominated the second half. On defense, you only give up, I don't even think they gave up 100 yards rushing. They only gave up 79 total yards in the second half. Clemson just gassed them out in the second half. And as frustrating as people might get at, okay, we're only getting 2 and 3 yards a carry against Boston College, they just leaned into that, got DJ comfortable, and by the end of the game, Boston College was just dead and couldn't hold it anymore. So I think Clemson really made a good game plan in the beginning for the offense, just was aided by turnovers and whatnot that didn't help them, but B, adjusted really well and came out and dominated the second half.
I do think that they dominated in the second half, and I think it was really nice to see them. So, Al, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, it was looking pretty bleak after that fumble. If we're just being honest, that's like we said, that's a 14-point swing. I was pretty disappointed in that whole deal right there. I thought that the two Tony Elliott, like Houston mentioned, did pretty well in this game for the most part. I didn't like his calls on first down. There was a lot of runs up the middle that was not working. It's been typical of him all year, and it gets us into bad situations. I don't like that. But other than that, I really thought he did a great job in this game. Unfortunately, on the goal line, he did the same thing, 2 right up the middle. And, had the play calls been any kind of good, we wouldn't have to worry about that fumble. Okay, this game wouldn't have been close. We wouldn't have to worry about it. There would be no stress, no nothing. But I get it. You want to hand it to Etienne up the middle like he can get that yard, and that's fine. I understand that. But our offensive line has not been the best at run blocking. We've been talking about that. So I like Etienne in space there every time. Heck, I know they were trying to protect DJ Uiagalelei's shoulder, but I really wanted the fake handoff kind of run around that Trevor Lawrence and Etienne do all the time when Lawrence almost walks into the end zone every time. And of course they did that play later for 20, 25 yards or something like that. So it worked later in the game. He was saving it. You could tell they started to run him in the second half. They got a little bit desperate, and they knew what the situation was. And they were down, and they were going to have to kind of pull out some of those runs and make him make those plays, because that's going to be a big-time part of his arsenal going forward. You just got to wait till that shoulder gets healthy, and that's fine. I understand that 100%. You got to kind of keep him healthy in the meantime. But, yeah, it wasn't as bad defensively as everybody wants to make it out to be. It was 21 points. They didn't give up 28 points. They gave up 21. And 2 of those touchdowns, the first touchdown, I don't think people realized what a difficult catch that was. That was a crazy good catch. And the DB, I forget which one it was draped all over the guy. Okay, it was draped all over him, and he made a spectacular play. Same thing happened with the bobble one where you were talking about. the DB all over him. Goodrich was all over the guy. He was in perfect position. The problem is, in both cases, they didn't get their head around fast enough. It's been a criticism of mine of the Clemson DBs for years. I don't think they get their head around deep down the field. I understand you can't do it early or you'll get beat, you'll lose momentum and that kind of thing. But once you're at a certain point down the field, you look for the ball, and more times than not, you're just going to be able to look up and either intercept it or knock it down. And Clemson simply has not done that very well, in my opinion. And it's a good thing we're close. It's a good thing we're close to these guys, because a lot of the receivers that we're going to play this year can't make those types of plays. I mean, they were seriously some great catches that these guys were making. A lot of concentration, and you got to commend them for that. You kind of tip your cap and move on. But yeah, it was I think the field goal going into halftime was a huge play. A lot of momentum there. I was sitting there watching it with my wife and my sister-in-law, and I told them, I said, yeah, I think if Clemson doesn't score a touchdown coming in a half, I don't think we can come back and win this game. We got a little bit of momentum here. A touchdown is going to be huge. They need it for the confidence. They need it. And, of course, they drove right down the field and scored. And I was feeling pretty good after that. But it was a great game to watch. When Clemson started coming back, especially after that first touchdown in the second half, you could already see it on Notre Dame's face. You could see it on their face. Oh, man, we had this team on the ropes. We had them. This is number one. We were going to pull this big upset, and you could see it in their face. And it was funny because we scored the go-ahead touchdown, and they showed the exact same guy on the screen with the same look in his eyes. I'm like, they know. They understand that they blew it big time. And in Clemson, Clemson's just a good team, and they took it from them, and they showed why they're Clemson, why they've been where they've been for several years, and why hopefully that they're going to continue to be there. But it was a great game, a lot of fun, a lot of stress, but a lot of fun for Clemson fans.
And I just want to say to those football players out there, Allen is a really tall outside wide receiver. He doesn't understand the challenges that maybe under 6 foot defensive back type build has. I do, and I've been in the situations actually up against Allen one-on-one in flag football, and it is very difficult to get your head turned around because you're already worried about he's going to out-jump me. He doesn't even actually have to jump to out-jump me. So you got a lot of other things to worry about, Al. I think you don't give these defensive backs, these shorter guys, credit just because you just can't. You got to walk a mile in our shoes, Al. You got to walk a mile in our shoes.
In fairness, I was a defensive back too. And I always watched the quarterback. That's why I intercepted the ball so much, because I was a DB.
Yeah, but you're like a really tall defensive back. You're like more of a Fred Davis 5-star defensive back. I'm talking about us like Chris Chancellor types out there that are having to make it by. But yeah, I like your points. Travis Etienne, we got to talk about him. Breaks the record, led Clemson in receiving for the game, but is the all-time rushing leader for the ACC. There's a lot of argument, well, he played more games and this and that, but he's definitely a player that I don't think many people expected him to be this. And he has developed into just an amazing player to watch. We're going to miss you, Travis. And Mrs. Etienne, if you're watching this, Mama Etienne, thank you so much for allowing him to come to Clemson for us and the fans to enjoy, because he is amazing at being a running back. Clemson, 18-point comeback win at home, was the biggest in Clemson history. And at the end of the game, post-game conference, Dabo Swinney didn't waste any time letting us know that Trevor Lawrence will not play against Notre Dame. That's the game we're going to be talking about after this, but Trevor Lawrence will not play against Notre Dame. Before we start talking about Notre Dame, we're going to talk about the players of the game and the grades for the game. I'm interested to see what Houston, I know a lot of fans out there probably interested to see what Houston's grades of the games are going to be. But before I tell you about anything, I want to tell you about this gift certificate that I talked about earlier. Let me make sure you can see it. So it's a Charleston Sports Pub gift certificate available at all their locations. Doesn't matter if you live in the coast, down at the coast, James Island, Mount Pleasant, Charleston, Somerville, or if you're up here in Greenville or Clemson, this can be used. And again, Bill, there is no expiration date, $25 gift certificate. How do you win it? Well, we're going to do a drawing. How are you going to get entered into the drawing? You have to tag 4 friends in the comments over on YouTube or Facebook. So tag 4 friends in the comments. Don't tag Allen, Houston, or myself. We do not count as a friend, even though we are your friends. We don't count. So you have to tag 4 friends. Now, why did I say 4? Because 4 is a great number. 4 is Deshaun Watson's number, and that's the number I picked. So once you tag 4 friends in the comments, then we'll do, we'll put everybody's name in a hat, and we'll draw from it. How does that sound? $25 gift card, and then I will reach out to you via message, and I'll give you our information. So thank you so much for joining in. Again, let's talk about the offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game. I got offensive player of the game. I really wanted to give it to DJ. I mean, Travis Etienne got the leather helmet and then gave it to DJ anyway, so I kind of like them both. Again, DJ graded Pro Football Focus 72.7, better than 3 of Trevor Lawrence's games this year. So how about that? And then fantasy-wise, DJ was a top 30 player, and Travis Etienne was a top 11 player, 11th overall nationally as far as fantasy points scored. So I give Travis Etienne the offensive player of the game. Defensive player of the game for forcing that safety and almost chucking Phil Jurkovec all the way across the hill outside of the stadium. I know you're going to tell me he wasn't the best performance, but that was a great performance. So give me Brian Brazie. Not only that, Pro Football Focus graded the defensive run block as a 90.8, one of their highest grades for a defensive run stop in that game. So great job for the defensive line, minus the linebackers, minus Tyler Davis, still holding it down. So again, Travis Etienne, Brian Brazie for me. Let us know in the comments what you think, if I'm right or wrong, or who your MVPs were.
So you want Houston to go first, or are you ready for me?
Go ahead.
All right. So offensive player of the game, I actually went with Cornell Powell here, okay? 11 receptions, 105 yards. Okay, this is not the Powell we've been seeing. This is the Powell we've all been hoping for. He showed up against BC. He showed up in a big way, and it was incredible for Clemson. It was huge for Clemson. He had big-time catch after big-time catch, clutch catch, contested passes, full extension. I mean, goodness gracious. Look, there's an easy case to be made for DJ Uiagalelei or Travis Etienne here. There's no doubt about it. But Cornell Powell deserves some major love for this game. And I decided that I was going to be the one to give it to him. Huge performance when it mattered the most. Very clutch in this game. Definitely looked like the Cornell Powell we've all been waiting to see. So defensive player of the game, I agree with you, Morgan. I have Brian Brazie as well. There weren't a lot of statistical standouts in this game to kind of really choose from. He had a sack, he had a tackle for loss, quarterback hurry. But he just took a step forward in this game. He was getting a lot of pressure. He was beating double teams. This kid is getting double teamed. I've even seen more than 2 guys on him. It's crazy. This guy is getting fierce. He's learning the game. He's learning it quickly. He's everything we hoped he would be, and he's been that almost right off the bat. So it's going to be great to see where this kid goes from here for sure. But I definitely thought Brian Brazie was the player of the game there on defense.
Well, it sounds like nobody wanted to pick DJ as the offensive player of the game. So I will pick him as my offensive player of the game. Here's the reasons why. 1, 342 yards passing, 367 total yards, 25-yard touchdown run, 2 outstanding passes. I believe, was it 2 passes? I believe it was 2 passes. 2 passes. Looked great. No interceptions. I know the fumble, people would say it's on him, but really no turnovers outside of that one in the 1 yard line. He looked phenomenal. Now, there are things that he needs to improve on. Throwing out to his left and the flat a little bit needs to get a little bit better. But, I mean, look, you can't get much better than that start and that much pressure to lead your team on the largest home comeback in Clemson history, your first start. Kid's already got the stuff of legends, so he's my offensive player of the game. My defensive players of the game are the linebacker trio of I always get the Venables, Jake Venables, Balin Spector, and Trenton Simpson. They had to come through without Jamie Skalski and Mike Jones. There were times that they definitely got beat, a couple of those, but you look at the second half adjustments that the defense made, they were key in that, especially getting to Jurkovec late in the game. So I'm giving those 3 linebackers my defensive players of the game.
Yeah, I can't disagree. That's for sure. I think that the linebacking core that had to do what they had to do without having Skalski, that's still going to be out for the next game, and then Mike Jones as well, still undisclosed if he's going to be playing this week or not. We'll see, but I think he will be back. Let's give grades, all right? So for offensive grades, defensive grades, and then we'll give you our Notre Dame preview right after that. But offensive grade for me, and I'm going to go ahead and put this out there again. I am a easy grader, as you guys always like to pick on me here. I'm giving him a B. DJ had 342 yards and 2 touchdowns, did a phenomenal job stepping in for Trevor Lawrence. ETN did have 1 fumble, but passed the ACC all-time rushing leader and took that, with only needing like 46 yards to start the game. So congratulations to those guys. Cornell Powell, cannot be said enough how much we have really kind of been on him for the past 2 years. Really, we would be on him for longer than 2 years, but we've only ran the show for 2 years. But we cannot say enough how much, 10 receptions. I mean, he had more than 10, but at one point he had 10 receptions and 10 targets and 100 yards or 99 yards. It was like, clockwork. He was a machine out there, reliable for DJ, and great job there. Want to give you so much praise. Guy who stayed, guy who could have left, and based on what you see on the field, could have definitely played at many other schools and started maybe the entire time. Thank you so much, Cornell Powell, for that. Defensive grade, first half, I'm giving you a C because of a couple of fluke kind of things. Second half, did not allow a third down conversion and no points. I'm giving you an A for that.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so you split it up. That's not fair. You just wanted to look good with your little A throw in there at the end. Get out of here. And get out of here with that nonsense. Okay, so the offensive grade, I gave him a B as well. I thought that was a pretty fair assessment. I mean, look, DJ played incredible. Okay, I was very, very proud. Looking forward to what we get to have these next couple of years. That guy, I don't know if people understand exactly what they're watching on television, but that guy throws it harder than anybody I've ever seen. I mean, he is throwing absolute lasers out there, and Rodgers and Powell in particular are catching them. I mean, no bobbles, no nothing. It's just unbelievable. It's like it's hitting their hands and sticking. It's like they've almost melted into it when it gets there. It's crazy. They did a really good job. Amari Rodgers had a great one behind the back too, as well. But again, I wanted to make sure we gave more love to Cornell Powell, like Morgan did. Just a great overall performance from him. Very, very proud of the guys. Etienne making some plays in the passing game, had a ton of yards there. As a matter of fact, he was one of my sexy performances. I understand the fumble is what everybody remembers, but he had a great game. He had over 200 all-purpose yards again, which is what Etienne does. So it was a pretty good showing from the offense there. Not too bad. If you sneak in for the touchdown there, and all of a sudden it's about 40 points instead of the fumble. So that's a decent performance. We can do better, and we will do better, but that's not bad. Defensive grade, I gave him a C. And it's really just because on the scoreboard it shows 28 points, but we know they only gave up 21. Jerkovic's a good quarterback. We talked about that before the show. I agree with Houston, and he says that he's better than Ian Book. He is, in my humble opinion. It was about the DBs for me. It was about the defensive backs. It looked like they blew one play that should have been a touchdown. Jerkovic threw a great pass, and it was just out of reach. And that could have been a touchdown. I was kind of not upset. I was actually thrilled to death that he missed the pass, but it was a poor effort by the BC receiver. I thought he could have easily made that grab if he'd have jumped or dove or something like that. But I don't like the fact that DBs weren't getting their head around. Just not a good effort. Not a good effort to look back for the ball like I'm sure their coach should do. All right, I'm sure Mike Reed isn't saying I don't even worry about looking for the ball. I'm sure he doesn't say that. Maybe we should have Mike Reed on to ask him personally. Okay, but again, that was some incredible catches by BC, no doubt about it. The targeting penalty, goodness gracious, that was nonsense, guys. I mean, you cannot.
We have to talk about it, don't we?
You can't do that. I mean, goodness, that was what a pivotal
terrible
moment. It's a bad. I don't want to say it's a bad rule because it's great when it works out in your favor, but it had no effect on the play. Let the play go. We get the pick. Penalize us 15 yards. If that's what you want to do, fine. But you just can't do that right there. That was a huge mistake. We also got burned a couple times by penalties. KJ Henry with the hold. Again, the pass was already out to the receiver. And then, KJ holds the guy and kind of I don't know if he threw him to the ground or he went to the ground. Another big penalty on a massive, that was second 27 or something like that. Goodness gracious. It's tough to lose that. And of course, now I won't fault Mascall, I believe it was he's the one that got the roughing the passer. What an
that was
atrocious
just a terrible call. That was a terrible call.
Awful call that was. I'm not going to put that one on the defense because that was pathetic by the referees. They got to be better than that. I mean, they're getting paid pretty well. They can't make that call. It was awful, and I'm pretty sure that led to a touchdown for BC as well there. So that was tough when Clemson should have been off the field. So a lot of things didn't go right. Okay, it was a fluke game. We've talked about all the flukes. There's a million of them we could talk about in this game. Overall, I gave the defense a C because I think they're just capable of much better. And I get it. We're out a lot of guys too. But yeah, they're gonna get some of these little issues fixed, and they're gonna come back with a vengeance. I feel quite sure.
Yeah. So if everybody's waiting with bated breath for my grades, I'm going to give the offense a B+. I think the offense had a great game plan. Honestly, we're a fumbled touchdown away from really that could be, the game could have not been as close as it was if we score there. We don't know what that spirals into. Maybe DJ gets even more comfortable, but look, Big Al had this right. He throws a mean fastball. I always thought Taj had one of the fastest balls coming out of his hand. This kid, man, it's like a laser beam every time it comes out. It's amazing. And he looks like a Cam Newton, Jamarcus Russell in his prime, Dante Culpepper, whatever. I've heard every kind of reference, but this kid's good. He played really well. Travis played really well minus the fumble. We've already talked about Cornell Powell, Amari Rogers. The plan was good too. We were creative in our blocking. We didn't really pass the tight ends, but I can't fault them too much. Maybe they saw something there, but we were creative in blocking, especially in key moments at the end of the game. I feel like Clemson was very, very keen on getting the right people blocked at the right time. And so that's why I think I'm a little higher this week, because Clemson wasn't just like, I don't know, throwing together things in the fourth quarter and just hoping that Trevor hits somebody downfield or Travis breaks off a big run. There was actual method to the madness this time around. So I can respect that. I understand that turnover didn't help. First down runs could have been a little bit better. But overall, I think Clemson had a great game plan and executed well. So I give them a B+. On defense, you can't help but look at two halves, which is why I'm going to give the defense overall a B- on the game. The first half is awful. D game that was going on there. Everything was going Boston College's way, literally. It's just one of those games or one of those halves where Boston College can't do anything wrong. Everything was going their way. They were catching miraculous passes, getting Clemson to jump off sides on just stupid fake field goal penalties. I'm sorry, the whole Joe Tessitore thing drove me nuts. I don't know why you put a Boston College guy calling the game when his son's on the team. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if Herb Street's kids are on the team for Clemson, but it's a totally different thing. I don't know. But that just kind of hurt me a little bit. I think with that, you pair it with almost a B+ A effort in the second half, minus some dumb penalties for the defense, holding them to 79 yards. No real rushing threat. Jerkovet got thrown to the moon by Brazie. I think Clemson ended up getting a B-, and I think that this second half for the defense is going to parlay into future efforts going forward. I think Clemson was able to figure out on both sides of the ball how to win with a bunch of youngsters in key positions, and that's going to be huge going into South Bend.
I think what we need to talk about now is Clemson at Notre Dame, and then we'll get into our picks against the spread. But before we get into that, let me tell you about Charleston Sports Pub. And we got our contest right now. If you tag 4 friends into the Charleston Sports Pub, you get entered into the Charleston Sports Pub $25 gift certificate. Tag 4 friends into the comments on the show tonight. If you tag those 4 friends, your name will be entered into a drawing, and we will pick and draw and let you know if you were the lucky winner for the $25 gift card for Charleston Sports Pub. Again, Charleston Sports Pub is available in Charleston, Summerville, James Island, Mount Pleasant, Pleasant, downtown Greenville, downtown Clemson. So a lot of different places all over the state of South Carolina for you to enjoy. And we also want to give a shout out to Tiger Sports Shop. We don't just dress for success, we TS for success. That's tigersports.com. That's where Alan, Houston, and I get all of our Clemson gear, and we think you should too. They have 2 locations, downtown Clemson or on Tiger Boulevard. You can go check them out. Let Julie and Sean know that the team or the guys from the Morgan Thomas Show sent you. And let's get into our picks here. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be previewing Notre Dame and Clemson traveling to South Bend. All right, so let me give you my rundown here real quick. Alan, you got a little big on me here. Let me fix that. You got large.
I was working out when you were talking.
Yeah, all right, there you go. So you got fixed here. So Clemson at Notre Dame. Number 1 Clemson -5.5. That's what I had from OddsShark before, maybe around 5 o'clock. So we do our spread picks around late on Monday. So we might not be exactly perfect, but keep that in mind as you're going through it. Clemson right now 7-0, travels to 6-0 Notre Dame at 7:30 p.m. on NBC. Clemson or ESPN FPI at 65.9% in favor of Clemson. 56% right now of the public is picking Clemson to cover the spread of 5.5. The Irish have won games at home that they were home dogs to the last 3 times. They've actually won the game straight up. Okay, so that's an interesting stat for you. They haven't lost a game at home by more than 7 points since 2016, and that was to Michigan State in 2016 when they lost, I believe, by like 9. And that was a 2016 team that was one of Brian Kelly's worst, or if not the worst record team, okay? So he has typically been a double-digit win in the win column ever since he's been with Notre Dame, except for that 2016 year where I believe that was the year where he completely lost his entire defense. Correct me if I'm wrong, fellas. But the toughest home games, I say all that to say, when I look back at their toughest home games, it's not like they're getting Clemson's of the world. It's not like they're getting Alabama's. Now, they do get Georgia, but can you really say anything about Georgia? I mean, really, Georgia, who knows what they're going to do when they travel anyways. But most of their big-time, wins at home are against ACC teams that Clemson also destroys in that same year. So it's kind of hard to say how good they are at home and how dominant they are. Now, statistically, you could say they don't lose a lot of games at home, and they do really good when they're a home dog, which they are this time around. But I did a little bit of research. Fridays we do a scouting report. Me and the intern, we do a scouting report for the game coming up. This Friday we're going to do Notre Dame. You can check that out around 6 o'clock. I post it on YouTube and Facebook. But right now, this is what's coming from Notre Dame's, lead writer. There's a theme emerging. Notre Dame starts with a long, methodical drive and scores, forces a stop early, and slowly marches down the field again. That's what their goal is. It's hard for them to fall behind with this type of scenario. Slow, methodical drives down the field, heavily reliant on running the ball. The opponent doesn't have the ball very often in the first or second quarter and sets them up to go into halftime with the lead. So that is from a Notre Dame writer's mouth right there, all right? So that's kind of their game plan that they have seen consistently. Will Notre Dame, I'll pass this question around real quick. Al, to you, will Notre Dame be able to get that slow, long, methodical drive in place early on in the game? What do you think?
Well, I think they could certainly have some success there. They have a great offensive line. And again, we're missing so many players on defense. Still not sure who's going to play, who's going to be at 100%. So yeah, there's definitely a chance that can happen. We're going to need Clemson to we're going to need Brent Venables, okay, Master Venables, to come up with a great game plan, find a way to fit those gaps and stop that run, because that's what they're famous for. They're not as good as the pass, which you'll hear me talk about here in just in a couple of minutes. But yeah, that's certainly a possibility for Notre Dame.
Could it be a possibility? Yes. Do I think that it'll work to a T for Notre Dame? I do not think so. They have a great offensive line. They want to run the ball. Clemson wants you to run the ball. You saw that against really Notre Dame or Boston College. Anyone we've played this year who says, we want to run the ball, Brent Venables says, go right ahead. Thank you very much. And he will make sure that your quarterback is going to be the one that beats him. Especially if your quarterback is not the strong suit of the team. It might be different if you have Lamar Jackson or if you have somebody like Tua Tagovailoa running the offense. Then that's a different game plan. But the goal for Brent Venables is to take the running game out of it and say, if we're going to lose, Ian Book is going to have to play the game of his life.
And I think that sets up, and Walt has said this on 105.5 The Roar, that fact that Clemson, strength is that defensive line. They are kind of hurt a little bit on the offensive line now, on the linebacking core. But really, what did BC do to pick apart Clemson at the beginning of the game? That was through the passing game. It wasn't through the running game. And so knowing that Notre Dame is a run-first offense doesn't really help their cause. Now, I've got a player to watch. I don't know if you guys have looked at their roster or anybody you think outside of Ian Book, but my player to watch is Ben Skowronek. I don't know if I said it right. I'm going to work on it. But number 11. So just look for him. They don't even have their last names on the back of their jersey, so it doesn't even matter what it's pronounced. Just say number 11, okay? He's 6'3", 224. And I can just hear Alan saying this now. I told you last week they need to get their head around. Well, it's hard to get your head around when you have a 6'3", 224 wide receiver. He torched Pittsburgh. Not only did he torch Pittsburgh, but go back and look at his big-time catches that he had, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns. Some were the biggest 73-yard big-time play against, lo and behold, a 5'11" cornerback. Now, thank goodness, Clemson really doesn't have any 5'11" cornerbacks, and they haven't really been trying to recruit any 5'11" cornerbacks. So this will be a different scenario for Notre Dame. They won't have that success, but when that guy got schooled on that touchdown play for 73 yards, I had a little bit of a tear come out of my eye because, being 5'9", it hurts. It hurts. I've just got to say that. But I think they're going to use Ben in the passing game. I'm going to call him by his first name like DJ. I think they're going to use Ben in the passing game. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. He got a lot of targets against Georgia. He didn't get a lot of targets against Georgia Tech because they really kind of took their starters out early. Again, prepping for this week. Just letting you know that. Assuming that they control the game through the run, I don't think he's going to be their first option, but I just say keep an eye out for number 11. Nolan Turner's going to have to watch him. Landon Zanders as well, because he's going to try to get over top, make some big plays, use his height to his advantage. Is there anybody on Notre Dame's team that you guys have been looking at or been thinking outside of Ian Book? Houston, I'll start with you.
So a point to be made, and I'll have another point a little later when we get to overall predictions, but the running backs for, I believe, Kieran Williams, and there was another guy, I can't remember his name exactly, but they want to primarily run the ball. The one thing that I want to point you towards, also what Walt Deptula says, is who is Zay Flowers or CJ Lewis on that offense for Notre Dame. You see Clemson struggle with wide receivers similar to that. They're speedsters, get on the outside. That might worry me in the playoffs, especially if we play somebody like Alabama. But when you look at what Boston College was able to exploit at the beginning, they were just throwing lobs down the field to just guys who could get past and hopefully get past our secondary. I don't see that out of Notre Dame. I know that Skowronek's a fast dude, big 6'3" wide receiver, but I feel like Clemson's going to be able to cover him or at least find a way to cover him throughout the game. And one thing that I want to point out that no one's really wanting to say, everyone's talking about Notre Dame's defense. No one's talking about that this is the best defense that Notre Dame will face this year. This is the best one. So what is your offense going to do against the best defense that you'll face all year?
Let us know what you think over in the chat. We got, last time I looked on Facebook, I had about 25. I think it fluctuates between 20, 25. Thank you so much for joining in Facebook. Also, we got 30. We're topping 30. Now, hey, if you're already subscribing, thank you so much. Like the video, subscribe to the video. Hey, I'm going to give you this little subscribe reminder here. Boom, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell to make sure that you're a part of the Morgan Thomas Show every time we go live, which is Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can check us out on our Facebook page, The Morgan Thomas Show, there as well. Again, we've got a contest right now, $25 gift card to anybody who puts well, I didn't say anybody. You get entered in to a contest. You get entered into a drawing for a $25 gift card to Charleston Sports Pub here if you tag 4 friends with this. Or, if you can't tag, I don't really know exactly how YouTube works. I think you can tag on YouTube. You guys got to tell me over on YouTube. But if you can't tag, maybe you show that you've shared it somehow. Send me a screen of how you've shared it, and I'll enter you in as well over on YouTube as well. We really appreciate the love and support, both on Facebook and YouTube. Again, also on Twitter at The Morgan T Show. Go check us out, Twitter. I'd like to, tweet here and there throughout the week. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the rest of the game and give you my prediction. Minus 5.5 to open up Monday night here. Clemson versus Notre Dame. That's what we're talking about. Trevor Lawrence, again, not going to play. DJ showed that he can manage his team, and not only manage his team, but put the ball right where it needs to be. That touchdown pass to Travis Etienne was really sweet. In stride, no problem, right over the defender. It was a thing of beauty. Then his little fake run. Alan, I agree with you. I thought that they were going to have him run earlier on than they did, and the only time that they let him run, he just happened to score a touchdown. So maybe we'll want to get some more icy hot on that shoulder. Maybe we want to get some more icy hot on that shoulder, put some of that, kinesio tape or whatever you call it on the shoulder and get him out there, because I want to see some more touchdowns. I don't even know if I said that right, guys. I know you're probably making fun of me right now for saying all these things wrong, but again, I look at it a tale of two halves, just like I thought with Florida State falling off in the second half. I believe last week we talked about this. The tale of two halves. North Carolina Tar Heels lost to the Florida State Seminoles, but they blanked Florida State in the second half. Clemson struggled against Boston College only in the first half. In the second half, they came and shut them down. And I believe that DJ is not just some backup. He is the heir apparent. He is the next guy in line. And he also ran that offense in high school. So he's not completely ignorant of how Clemson runs plays. So give me Clemson to cover minus 5.5. Now, I know what you're going to tell me. Morgan, they haven't been able to cover all year. They're like 1-5 against the spread. Well, they're 1-5 against the spread because most of the spreads are in the 40s. So this one is minus 5.5. I'm liking it. Now, another thing, Morgan, they got a lot of injuries. You're correct. I've got listed right now on the injury report, sportsdata.com from USA Today, 21 injured players, either undisclosed or, and that's just on the injury list, undisclosed or actual injuries or illnesses, as in Trevor Lawrence's case. Let me just run through the list for you. Caleb Boating, David Coate, Fred Davis II, Sage Ennis, Justin Foster, Mike Jones Jr., Frank Ladson Jr., Trevor Lawrence, Ty Lucas, Matthew Maloney, Mitchell Mays, Jack McCall, Matt McMahon, Rook Ororo, Tyson Pumachan, Luke Price, Justin Ross, James Skalski, Brian Tucker, John Williams, and Trey Williams. I mean, it's not very often that you see Clemson with that many injuries, but considering that the SEC, Gamecock fans would say it's because they don't play anybody. That's why they never have anybody injured. But obviously, Clemson's having to deal with some injuries this year, specifically with their number one player, COVID. But Al, we'll start with you. What you got?
So, look, I came at this game from a numbers perspective. I looked at the rush offense and the pass offense versus the opposite for the other team, the rush defense, pass defense, and whatnot. So I got some numbers to throw at you, some rankings. I have the Notre Dame rush offense at 11th versus the Clemson rush defense at 15th, okay? Notre Dame pass offense at 71st. We know they're much better at running the ball than they are at passing the ball. Notre Dame pass offense 71st versus Clemson's pass defense at 11th in the country, okay? Clemson rush offense at 55th, which is kind of funny. You would think it'd be higher than that with Travis Etienne, but we throw the ball a lot too. Okay, so it is what it is. A lot of people just load up in the run, and that's the way it goes. So Clemson rush offense at 55th in the country. Notre Dame rush defense 8th. Clemson pass offense 8th in the country. Notre Dame pass defense 9th in the country. Okay, so if you look at it on paper, it's a great matchup. Okay, Notre Dame's defense seems to be what everybody says it is. Okay, 8th and 9th. Are they really as good as they seem on paper? Well, I think the answer is yes and no. All right, I do think they have an uptick in the amount of talent they've put as far as athletes are concerned, on the defense. I do. I think their players are better than what they brought, to Death Valley several years ago. I think they've been able to recruit better in that area. Okay, so I do think they do have a solid defense. However, okay, they have not played an offense with a pulse this year. Okay, the best statistic offense they've played so far is Louisville, who is 31st in overall offense in the country. Okay. The conditions were absolutely horrendous. All right, it was raining, and Louisville couldn't score on them. That's the best offense they faced. The next best team, Florida State, okay, at 52nd in the country. All right, their average team they're playing is like 62nd, okay, in the country on offense. Okay, they have not played anybody with an offensive pulse, and I think that is inflating their stats. All right, so I think it doesn't look as dire as a situation as it does on paper. We shouldn't be, stricken with terror or anything like that. Not to say they're not a good defense. I'm sure they are. And look, I mean, DJ, first game on the road, big time environment. How's he going to hold up? We don't really know yet. We know he's got the talent, but hey, a lot of times it's up here, especially on a road in an environment like that. I know it's a COVID environment, but it's still a road game, big time situation. Is he going to be able to do it? I sure hope so. I think I started looking at the game after that. I was like, look, we've been running a lot of three-man front, and I think a lot of that's due to the loss of Tyler Davis and not having that extra body, which I hate the three-man front. I absolutely despise it. I know Houston's the same way as I am. I don't like the three-man front, and so we're looking at another game with the potential absence of Tyler Davis. Even if he's there, I would say he's not going to be 100%. Skowski is gone. Is Mike Jones going to be back? Nobody really knows. So somebody's going to have to step up in the run game if we're running these three-man fronts. Who's going to step up? Are they going to be bringing in some, Trenton Simpson a little bit more? Is he going to be a terror off the edge, or is he going to help you stop the run? Is Tyler Venables, Jalen Phillips, these extra DB types, are they going to come in and help stop the run? I'm not really sure what Venables' plan is going to be. It's always fun to see what Venables comes up with. But look, if they're healthy, okay, I know they're not, but if they're healthy, I look for Clemson to embarrass Notre Dame. I would take Clemson minus 20.5. At Notre Dame if Clemson was healthy. Fact is, they're not. Okay, we're missing a lot of key players on this offense. Notre Dame's got a good offensive line. They got a good defense. They can pose Clemson some problems. It's just the way it is. We don't like to think that, but that's the way it is. And it's also worrisome that you don't have Trevor Lawrence. You have DJ. You have a young kid who doesn't have a ton of experience coming in on the road. And like I said, in a big game. It's not to say he can't get it done, but I think Venables finds a way with his defense to do what he does and get it done just enough, but not enough to cover. I have Clemson 27, Notre Dame 24.
Ooh, not enough to cover, but a Clemson win. Interesting take. You guys have burned me on these. You guys have gotten wins and I've gotten losses. In this same scenario, Clemson wins, but can't cover the spread, and this may happen again. Talking about chat real quick before we get over to Houston's thoughts. I've got you again. We talk about James Skalski. It's got out indefinitely for groin injury, and then Mike Jones Jr. out previous contest due to an unlisted injury. Remains to be seen if he will suit up against Notre Dame. So listed questionable right now. But there's, the majority of these guys. I mean, you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, almost 19 players with undisclosed injuries. Wow. So what do you think, Houston? Concern?
No, I am not. Call me a sunshine pumper, call me whatever you want. But Clemson will win this game, will cover, and will win by double digits. I think Clemson wins this game 27-17 because their defense is better than anything that Notre Dame has seen this year. Here's the reasons why. Who is the best team Notre Dame has played this year? Can anyone name that record-wise?
Ooh, record-wise?
Yes, it would be Pitt. Pitt would be the best team that they've played all year record-wise.
Without their
Clemson's
QB.
Without their QB. This is also true. 45-3 win over a QB-less Pitt team. All right. Clemson's already played against teams that have over 3 wins, 4 wins, winning records. Boston College, Miami, and Wake Forest. Wake Forest has turned that season around since we beat them in the early season. So I'm not going to say that's the key to victory here, but I am going to say Clemson's played some better competition than Notre Dame has. And so Notre Dame can beat their chest that they're dominating the ACC, but they haven't seen a team like Clemson yet. Clemson is going to get their best team, but they're used to this. They've got players used to this. I think Clemson wins this game by 10 plus. I'm going to say 27-17.
Awesome. That's good stuff. Hey, look, it's a win-win for me. As long as Clemson wins the game, I don't care if they blow them out.
Amen.
That's great. It doesn't
Amen.
matter. As long I couldn't care less if they win by less than that, then I win the pick. And if they blow them out, I'll be cheering them on. I couldn't care less if I lose this pick as long as Clemson wins the game.
Amen.
Again, Alan, though, lone wolfing against Clemson. Now, we saw what happened with Houston lone wolfing for South Carolina. My friend Mark Childress says, why would you ever put yourself in a situation to have to pull for South Carolina?
Oh, no.
Al,
no. You don't ever pull for them. Whether you pick them or not, you never pull for them. You pick for yourself to lose the spread. That's what you do.
Oh, it's dangerous territory. Let us know in the chat if you think that Alan should be continued as a host here for picking Notre Dame to keep it within 5. That's too stressful of a game for me, Al. I need to go back. You remember how I told you I hated blowout games because I'd rather have something to talk about on the show? Well, I take that all back. I take it all back. I take it all back. I want the blowout wins. I want the blowout wins, man.
Me too.
All right. So let's go into our final segment. That was our Clemson versus Notre Dame preview. If you missed any of it, if you missed any of our look back to Boston College, if you missed any of our stuff at the beginning, well, at the beginning we got cut out because, Sony Entertainment didn't like that I was playing the national anthem of Whitney Houston, even though it's a beautiful song and, it is the national anthem. But if you missed anything, you can check out our page, Facebook, at facebook.com, The Morgan Thomas Show, or on YouTube, The Morgan Thomas Show. Just search it. You'll be able to find it. And we really appreciate all the likes in the video as well. Let me, I gotta do this. I gotta do this little, I gotta remember to do, I need a button to do this here. Hold on. I can do it. I can do it.
Clicking.
There we go. Okay, yes. All right, so like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can never miss an episode of the Morgan Thomas Show. We really appreciate it. But before we get into our picks against the spread and wrap it up for the night, I'm going to tell you about our last 2 sponsors of the show, and that is Daniel Weber State Farm. Daniel Weber, located 518 College Avenue, Suite 190, Clemson, South Carolina, 29631. You can give them a call, 864-722-9083, or go to their website, insuringclemson.com. Again, Daniel Weber, State Farm Insurance. Go check them out. One of their recent Google reviews says that they have a beautiful, beautiful office there and friendly environment, friendly staff. So go check them out, Daniel Weber State Farm, for all your insurance needs. Alan, you can tell them about heating and cooling services as well.
I would love to. Heating Cooling Services, Inc., family owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance for your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller or anything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, give Heating Cooling Services, Inc. a call. You want to get in touch with Mark or Jason Trammell, and their phone number is 864-224-7655. Again, that number is 864-224-7655. Like I said, they've worked on my AC. They did a great job. It saved me a ton of money, and it's been running strong ever since. And now the heat is working like a charm, okay, because it is getting chilly outside, folks. They can help with that, too. Call Mark or Jason. Tell them the Morgan Thomas Show sent you.
Cynthia gets in on chat. She's saying that what's going on with running back Dixon? I'm guessing Lynn J. Dixon. I didn't know there was anything going on with him. Is there an injury report? Is that what she's talking about?
I don't know if she's talking about if there's an injury report. Obviously, we don't know because it's coming out now, probably while we're on the show. It may just be the performance because he struggled. here lately. I mean, about every handoff he's getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and not necessarily his fault either. It's just to say he hasn't been the Dixon we've seen in the past, who the kind of electric guy who breaks a lot of big runs and whatnot early in his career. So I'm assuming maybe she's talking about that. Not positive though.
He's still listed on the depth chart. Just came out from on TigerNet. Jackson Carman, Matt Bockhorst, Cade Stewart, Will Putnam, Jordan McFadden, Braden Galloway, Frank Ladson Jr. or Joseph Ngata, DJ, Travis Etienne, Amari Rogers, and Cornell Powell. So it looks pretty consistent, at least on the offense there. But yeah, if you really want to look at like kind of what we've been talking about, it's because Clemson's offensive line has been struggling. It's not. Yeah. I wouldn't really necessarily load up on what's going on with the running backs as much as what's going on with the offensive line. Because if you look at Lynn J. Dixon's numbers down, I believe Jason Priester was telling me that Travis Etienne's numbers are down too. So it's a down across the board for the Tigers. They got to get the running game going. But I wanted to say this too. John gets in on chat and says Notre Dame doesn't have a choice to play slow and burn the offense. Burn it on offense. Their biggest weakness this year, or Clemson's biggest weakness this year, has been giving up big plays and that's not Book's strength. So I think we all agree with that as well.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
All right, so now let's get into picks against the spread. I know James is ready to see this. We've got a ton of people over on YouTube. Again, make sure you go in and like and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it. And again, if you want to, you can join our contest, our drawing, to get a $25 gift card to Charleston Sports Pub. Again, located Mount Pleasant, James Island, Somerville, Charleston, Greenville, Clemson. $25 if you tag 4 of your friends, 4, the lucky number 4, like Deshaun Watson's number. Tag 4 of your friends in the comments on the show. That will get you entered into a drawing of the hat of your name to win this gift certificate, and then we will reach out to you, if you win it. But again, thank you so much for joining in, Facebook, YouTube. If you miss anything, you can check out our YouTube page or listen to the podcast afterwards. Let's get into the picks against the spread, and we're going to do this college game day style where we go really fast. You ready? You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right, starting off with the ACC games, you've got number 11, Miami, -10 at NC State. 60% of the public going for Miami. They just came off a bye. Both teams just came off a bye week. Miami has beat NC State in total offense and total defense. They're one of the best teams in the red zone on offense and defense in the ACC. So go ahead and give me Miami to cover -10.
I'm taking Miami as well. Normally, I'd like to take NC State on a Friday night in a crazy environment. The environment's not going to be crazy this time. I think Miami can pose them some problems, and Derek King can give them some things to worry about over there. So I'm going to take Miami as well.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Devin Leary is still out for NC State, correct?
That's right.
Is he out for the year? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take Miami to cover in this one. If Devin Leary was playing, I might be tempted to take NC State in this, but he's out. That offense is not the same. Give me Miami.
Agree.
Next up, Liberty, number 25, Liberty. Go Flames, my future alma mater. Oh, so weird to say that. But number 25, Liberty at Virginia Tech. -14.5 for Virginia Tech. 60% of public going with Liberty. You got to give me Liberty in this case. I'll take the 14.5 points. Liberty can score. You got two teams that I think can both score when they get the ball. Virginia, obviously, through the running game, and Liberty through the passing game. But I think it's going to be a high scoring. Take the over, and also give me Liberty plus 14.5.
Give me Liberty as well. Virginia Tech does this almost every year. Every year we think they're going to be this good team or in this improved team, and they drop one or almost lose one to some kind of team from out of nowhere, some nobody team. And Liberty's actually a top 25 ranked team right now, so they're certainly not a nobody. But yeah, I'm going to take Liberty in the points too.
We'll go ahead and strike the lone wolf because I'm going to take Virginia Tech to cover this one. That game, that doink game, whatever you want to call it, for Virginia Tech's already happened this year. It happened in Winston-Salem. Give me the Hokies to cover.
Okay, got our first lone wolf of the night, so good luck with that, Houston. Next up, North Carolina, -10.5, falling out of the top 25 at Duke. 55% picking North Carolina right now. Bo Corrales has been out for the last two games. Big-time receiver for them. Consistent guy, more like your Hunter Renfrow type guy for the Tar Heels. And UNC's defense, as we mentioned earlier, is getting worse. We saw them perform or not perform against Virginia last week, and Sage Surratt even had a bad game, in my opinion. I really have no idea on this game, to be honest. I wrote down no idea. But you got to give me the better team. In this case, I think the Tar Heels are better than Duke. I think that they can beat Duke in the sense that it's kind of like what do you call it? The daisy chain effect, or if you link it back. North Carolina beat NC State. NC State beat Duke. So give me North Carolina.
What did you say the spread was on this one? 9.5.
10.5. Which I mean, you
10.5.
basically going to say 10, right? I mean,
these lines have changed like crazy since I looked at them this morning. So almost all of them. Yeah, I'm taking UNC here. UNC's been pretty good covering me for the most part, except for last week, of course. They've been good. Their offense is crazy. Look, their defense hasn't been good all year, but Duke doesn't have a great offense. I know they scored a bunch on Charlotte, but let's be real, it's Charlotte. So I'm not too concerned with that. UNC, I think, can win this by a couple touchdowns.
UNC, give me that all day. Duke, I'm glad you got me my win last week, Duke, but you still stink. I'm going to pick UNC.
Don't ride them too long like I did with North Carolina State. They were good for 4 games, and then it was all over for the Wolfpack there. Next up, Boston College, -14 at Syracuse. Oh, by the way, James gets in and says he's off of UNC. They stink. They lost for him last week. So, hey, I get it. Take a break. Take a break. We're going to pick these games anyways, but I get it. You got to take a break. You got to let them sit on the sideline for a while and stop picking them. But Boston College, -14. BC just came off of a good game against Clemson, but, kind of had less of a game in the second half. So let's remember that. But -14 at Syracuse, who I think is one of the worst teams in the ACC. 92% of the public is going with the BC. And you got to think, if Jurkovic is still good after getting slammed to the ground by Brian Brazie, go ahead and give me Boston College to beat up Syracuse, torch them by more than 14.
Give me the Eagles as well. Boston College. It's funny. I looked at the spread this morning, and this was obviously a mistake. This was obviously not what it was supposed to be, but it said Syracuse was +1. And I look at it, and I'm like, what? I was like, this should be like +17 or something. This is kind of crazy. So I'm definitely taking Boston College, but yeah, about +14 sounds more like it. I'll take BC again, assuming Jurkovic is healthy as well.
So, in normal circumstances, I hate picking Syracuse in any form or fashion.
Don't do it.
I would normally pick Boston College, but here's the reason that I'm not going to pick Boston College. I'm going to pick them to win, but I'm not going to pick them to cover. It's a week after an exhaustive, emotional game where you lose to Clemson. They're going to be sleepy. They're going to sleepwalk through the first half. They're going to get popped in the face, similar to what they did to Clemson. Syracuse is going to come out, pop them in the mouth. Boston College is going to have to fight back and win. I like them to win. I don't like them to cover.
Statistically, that's a good play if you're listening to Houston now, who has a second lone wolf out there. We haven't even got to Allen's top 5 games of the week, and Houston's already lone wolf 2 games now, so write that down. Next up, Pittsburgh at Florida State, -2.5. 95% going with Florida State. Kenny Pickett is still questionable with an ankle injury. Tamarian Terry is actually expected to return after having a knee scope. Pitt is on a killer losing streak, -4 games. They lost 4 games in a row. They had kept games close or won games when they had Pickett. We don't know if they're going to have him or not. So give me Florida State with a 2.5 spread. Florida State -2.5 at home with a 2.5 spread, basically winner. So go ahead and give me the Seminoles on this one.
First of all, I want to get in without taking up too much time, but our friend Jason Priester gets in on the comment line and says Cuse beats BC straight up. So talk about a bold prediction there from Jason L. Priester. We'll see how it works out for him. Look, I took FSU as well, and that's just because Pitt does not have an offense without their quarterback. I mean, without Pickett, they've got nothing. At least they haven't shown anything so far. FSU has shown signs of life and then been a disaster at other times. I'm hoping I'm hoping. I don't really care because I don't like FSU at all. But as far as picks are concerned, I'm hoping this week is one of those times where they show a little promise. I'll take FSU as well.
Give me FSU. Pitt stinks. I'll never pick them again.
I'm kind of on the same train with Pitt there for sure. I hate picking Florida State. I don't ever tell Walt Deptula that I picked Florida State just now, but I hate it. So go ahead and is that a lock? Is that a lock? We all pick Florida State on that one. So
mortal lock of the week. Give it right there. So mortal lock of the week.
Okay.
Florida
all right.
State.
All right. Next, the last one for the ACC, not including the Clemson game that we've already picked. If you missed that, you can go check out one of our replays later on this week. Louisville at Virginia, -2.5. 88% is doing Virginia, coming off a big win against the Tar Heels. Louisville, also, I didn't put down who they played last week, but really it's all about who wins this game again at a -2.5. Virginia is going to be able to run all over Louisville. Now, I do think Louisville may be able to run all over Virginia as well, but give me Virginia and the momentum. Even though, yes, Brennan Armstrong did leave the game with a leg injury. I did check on that, and there is no word that he is out. He's not on the injured list as of right now. He actually, after the game, was in a press conference and looked fine to me. So give me Virginia minus to cover the -2.5 at home against Louisville.
I am going to take the Cavaliers here as well, Morgan. I'm not really liking all this agreeing with you. I've got to start differing from you so that I may have a chance to catch up. I don't like where this is going because the one pick that we differed on, I don't feel real good about, and that's Notre Dame. So, yeah, but I'm going to take the Cavaliers here as well. Louisville's trash. Every time I pick them, they screw me. I'm tired of them. I'm done with the Cardinals for good.
I agree. Louisville stinks. Virginia also stinks. They play a fullback at quarterback. They're going to win this game. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be like 9-3 or something like that, but Virginia will still cover.
James said, is Virginia really that good? Go look at the replay of that game from last week. Brennan Armstrong has really found something, kind of like a Tim Tebow type. We talked about that's kind of his style. He's found a little bit, he's gotten more comfortable in that role. Let's just put it that way. Is he that good? I don't know. Is Virginia that good? I don't know. But it does seem like their quarterback play has improved week over week, especially since Clemson. Their offense has seemed to get it together a little bit better. Another thing that I didn't get to say at the beginning of the show because we had some issues, but our current record right now, guys, I had another losing week.
Should have left this out.
4-6 for me. Allen 5-5. Houston 5-5. Right now, I'm at an even 500 at 42-42. Allen is at 464, 39-45, and Houston is at 452%, and he is 38-46. So Houston and Allen really close, and I'm only about 3 games ahead of the rest of the pack there. So that's kind of our current record. We didn't get a chance to kind of talk about that, but let's get into Allen's games of the week, and I'll start it out. But Allen, you start with your description of the game or what you think is going to happen with the game. So you give us your prediction. I'll start with the game name, and then we'll go Houston, and then I'll finish it up, okay? All right, number 23, Michigan, -3 at 13, Indiana. Joe Milton for Michigan. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, look, Michigan came out and kind of set the world on fire and blew somebody out week 1, and then week 2 they got beat by Michigan State. It was not good. Okay, that was very unexpected. Michigan State's not a very good team, and they lost 27-24, I believe it was. Indiana came out. I picked them against the spread against Penn State, and obviously we know how that one went. That was a fun game to watch, one of the best games of the year. And then Indiana beat Rutgers this past week. I like Indiana. I think they're a pretty good team. I think Michigan somehow gets back on track, finds their groove, and I absolutely despise myself for picking Michigan, but I'm taking the Wolverines here to cover.
Is it going to me or you, Morgan?
You're up, Houston.
Okay. I feel like this line's a little fishy. I don't like Michigan. I think Michigan, what kind of tipped the hand for me that Michigan's not a good team? Minnesota, they blew them out, and then Minnesota got blown out by Maryland, so Minnesota stinks. Michigan also stinks because they lost to a Michigan State team that got blown out at home by Rutgers. Michigan is not good. Indiana is good. I think Indiana goes in and wins by more than 2 scores. Give me Indiana and the points.
Whoa, more than 2 scores. That's some points up for Michael Penix Jr. Go ahead and give me that. I love the home dog in this one. Big Penix Jr., Indiana. Morgan and Houston going to take it. Allen, making Allen the lone wolf there with number 23, Michigan. And as you know, if you're a fan of the show from last year, I hate Jim Harbaugh. And so that was not a surprising pick from my end. West Virginia at number 22, Texas, -6.5. Texas. Texas. Allen, what you got?
Look, West Virginia had a great game against K-State, like we talked about. They absolutely blew them out. It was unexpected. K-State was the favorite in that game. K-State was not the favorite in that game. They should have been the favorite in that game, and they weren't. That's the line we thought all smelled fishy. look, West Virginia is a great team when they play at home. And, they're not bad on the road either, but it's just they're up and down. They're crazy. It's hard to predict. Texas is kind of the same way for the most part. They have no defense, but their offense can score some points. I'm going to take them at home to score some points. Maybe it's an overtime game. They're prone to overtime games. I'm going to take Texas to win by a touchdown.
Agreed. There's one team that has Sam Elger, and that kid can ball. Give me Texas.
He can ball. He can ball, but I can't do it. 60% of the public is picking West Virginia. I didn't pick West Virginia against K-State, and they burned me. I didn't pick Texas against Oklahoma State, and they burned me. So what do? I'll go with the team that has the better defense. You're going to see a trend here. I'll go with the team that has the better defense, allowing 255.7 yards per game compared to Texas's 407.8 yards per game. Now, I know they did play Oklahoma and Oklahoma State so far, so that is a factor in that. And there is that one major factor, the overtime killer in Sam Ehlinger. We back in the overtime. At least that's true. We're back in overtime. But give me West Virginia plus the points in this case. Traveling with 6.5. I'll take it. I'll be the lone wolf on that one. Next up, number 8, Florida at number 5, Georgia, minus 3.5. Al, what you got?
You said it's minus 3.5?
That's what I got.
All right. So, look, at the beginning of the year, I picked Florida, I believe it was, to win the East. I thought it would be close. I was not anticipating Georgia's defense being quite as good as it is. We all knew they were going to be a good defense, but goodness gracious, their defense has pretty much been otherworldly this year. It's been kind of crazy to watch, and Florida's defense is a train wreck, which is something we're not used to for the Florida Gators. They almost always have an elite defense. Now it's their offense that's good, and their defense stinks. So I really wasn't sure what to pick on here, but Georgia's got a lot of injuries right now, a ton of injuries on defense. They could be without their 2 starting safeties, 2 defensive tackles. There's just all kind of problems going on there. And we don't know about George Pickens, their best wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the country. Don't know if he's going to play. He didn't play last week. So right now, just due to all the uncertainty, I don't think I have any choice but to take the Gators in this game.
Yep. Watching the Georgia-Kentucky game as briefly as I did on Saturday, Stetson Bennett is not a guy that I think can beat a top 5 to 10 team right now. I don't think they do it. I don't think he can beat the Gators. This might be the first game we see JT Daniels. So although I've heard he's not even the second string quarterback, I don't know what's going on. There's no answers. There's a ton of injuries and a ton of uncertainty. Give me the Gators.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, in that game that they just played, what was it, 14-3, 14-7?
21-3, I think was the final.
21-3. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say what is going to happen in this game. This is going to be one that might decide the SEC East. And now you guys are like trying to convince me otherwise. 76% of the public goes for Georgia. I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. I have my name down on Georgia right now. But going last, I can change it. I said I'll take the defenses in close games, plus this one is at home, and with the COVID rules in Athens, basically that's a full house. So another thing, Georgia has allowed 81 points this year. 41 of those came from Alabama. 5 games in, one team accounted for half their points allowed. It's a very, very close spread, 3.5. Give me the winner. Give me the home team. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs to go. Don't give me any thumbs down, Al. I see your hand moving up with the thumbs down. Don't you dare do it. Give me Georgia as the lone wolf pick there for me. Next one up, number 14, Oklahoma State, minus 12.5 at K-State. Kansas State. 55% of the public is picking Oklahoma State. Al, what you got?
Morgan, I feel bad because I do this on every pick because I'm not paying you any attention. What you said the pick's 12.5 or the spread's 12.5?
It's 12.5.
12.5. See, because it was 9.5 when I looked earlier this morning. 12.5 makes me feeling better because I picked Kansas State at 9.5. So I'm picking Kansas State to get back to what Kansas State was doing at the beginning of this year and upsetting Oklahoma and that kind of thing. Oklahoma State, look, I bet against them this past week. Texas, they came up big for us. Not all of us, Morgan, but I mean they came up big for some of us. And I think at home Kansas State's going to be able to get back and do some damage. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas State won this game, to be honest with you. But I'm going to take Kansas State with the points.
Agreed 100%. I'm taking Kansas State. Maybe not necessarily to win this game. Oklahoma State's going to come in. Emotional loss at home. They were the Big 12's final hope to make it to the playoff. Gone in a flash. They may not make it out of Manhattan alive. Give me the Cats.
Okay. I don't know where you guys are going with this. I think you're crazy. First thing is I hate this game because Kansas State just knocked off. Is a knockoff Texas. Okay, Kansas State's a knockoff Texas, meaning that Oklahoma State's going to have problems again. However, you guys are talking about Alan. You mentioned Oklahoma win. The Oklahoma win, they had a completely different quarterback. Thompson is not their quarterback now.
That's true.
They just lost and only put 10 points up. Now, yes, West Virginia has a great defense, as I mentioned before. But I got to take Oklahoma State in this one to cover minus 12.5. I lean towards Houston, though. I lean towards Houston in the sense that Oklahoma State may win, but not put up enough points to cover 12.5. So if that is any consolation here. And then the final game of the night. Number 7, Texas A&M. I believe that's number 7, right? Am I saying that right? 7? Texas A&M minus 9.5 at South Carolina. At South Carolina. Public right now is picking 54% Texas A&M. Al, what you got?
Morgan, I heard the spread. It was 9.5. Thank you so much for so eloquently stating that.
I just was making sure the fans heard it.
So look, I'm picking the Aggies here. Kellen Mond seems to have these games where he just plays really well. He's actually being more consistent than he has been his entire career this season, in my opinion. A&M's actually looked pretty good, and I know your love affair with Jimbo Fisher is going to kind of cloud your judgment here, Morgan. But this is going to be an interesting game. South Carolina's been decent at times, but they've looked like trash at times as well. And I hate picking South Carolina, of course, so I'm going to go A&M here with the points.
The spread could be minus 120 points, and I'm picking against the Hens and the Midlands. Man, y'all look like trash in Baton Rouge. After I stuck my neck out for you, I stuck my neck out. I put my pride on the line. What do the Gamecocks do? They spit in my face and go lose to a team that went and lost 48-11 to the same Auburn team they beat. So come on. I'm not even picking you. You're dead to me. You stink, South Carolina. I'm picking the Aggies.
Error correction for me on that last game. What was I thinking? Or not the last game, but the Georgia game. It's the greatest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville, not in Athens. But I did like that. I did like that argument about COVID. They're going to have a packed house in Athens. That was really more for the joke than it was about the facts. So just throwing that out there. But I still gotta go. I'm keeping my pick there. I really can't renege on that because of an error that I made. But anyways, I called 2 South Carolina friends tonight, and they wouldn't even pick themselves. 9.5 points is not enough points to beat Texas A&M, even at home. They said if it was Georgia, take the points, but it's not Georgia. They beat them 30-6 last year. At Texas A&M. Expect them to come home. Yes, they did beat Auburn at home, but we all know that Chad Morris is suspect, to say the very least, if he'll have a job for very much longer as an offensive coordinator outside the high school ranks. I think he's going back to Texas. I think he's going back to high school because he obviously is on the downward spiral in college offensive coordinations. But you can never pick South Carolina unless you are Houston, and you saw what happened. I got to mention this again. Houston lone wolfed, and picked South Carolina. You cannot pick South Carolina in this situation. Even their own fans say they don't have enough points. They don't even know who their quarterback is going to be at the end of the day. A lot of fans are hoping that they get blown out enough that Luke Doty gets in and gets to play a lot so they can see what he's going to do. That's where this fan base is at right now. Can you imagine if they had to play the team in the upstate at the end of the year, this year? It'd be kind of stressful with all the things
Gunnar
going.
Stockton's coming, man. Gunnar Stockton's coming. Wait until next year.
Houston is actually putting Gunnar Stockton down as a potential transfer already. He hasn't even actually committed, but he is already on the transfer watch. even before committing. But anyways, I'm going to pick Texas A&M, make that a hammer home. All three of us pick Texas A&M. And that does it. That does it for our picks against the spread tonight. Thank you for hanging with us a little bit later on because we had some technical issues. We didn't have a technical issue. We had some Sony Entertainment Music issues. But again, thank you so much if you're over on Facebook or YouTube. I see a lot of chat in there talking about the games coming up this week. Let us know what you think your game is that you're excited about. Hey, if you're watching this as a replay, again, you can still get in. Put in your 4 friends. Tag 4 friends in the comments. We got a few seconds left before we end the show. Tag 4 friends in the comments and enter yourself into a $25 gift card to Charleston Sports Pub. If we don't have enough entrants, I'm going to try to get a couple entrants in here. If we don't have enough, we'll try to run it again maybe next week and increase the entrants. But if we have a couple in there, you may have a good chance there because there'll only be a few people entered in. So get in there, $25. 5 different locations across the state of South Carolina. But gentlemen, thank you again. And fans over on Facebook, YouTube, and podcast, thank you so much. For Morgan, myself, Alan, and Houston, we really appreciate all the love and support. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.